That sucks. Shawn Carlson, Blackjack 98 Enterprises. Today's date is Friday, November 7th. The project that you see behind me is another blower. It is another Stihl blower. It's a separate one that I did before. And a customer had brought this one to me just last night. He's a window cleaning company. So he seen my ad on Craigslist. He reached out. He wanted me to fix this one. So I explained to him what it is that I do. So let's turn this picture around and have a look at it. Okay, so it's a Stihl. It looks like an older one. It's a Stihl BR340 backpack blower. The controls on all Stihl machines are the same with the LA, the choke, and how they look. The starting procedures are the same. These ones are 4-cycle. Even though they're 4-cycle, but with Stihl only, I have noticed only with Stihl, they use mixed gas, even on a 4-stroke. These here are the numbers with regards to this backpack blower from the company who sold it, Walmart, Zellers, or wherever. But it's important that you have a drink with you when you do something like this. And now, the guy was telling me something about the throttle trigger here, and I have noticed with these throttle triggers, when they stick out this far, there is always problems with the throttle cable and these because they tend to stick because there are so many right angles in the cable that they, like right in this bend here is where they seize up. And there's probably more bends into this part here where they seize up too. So the throttle cable line tends to do that. This here would be the on and the off. This here is off. This here is on. This here locks the trigger into place. This is actually stuck, by the way. Oh, look at that. So this is locking the trigger on, as you can see. And then this is loose. It's tight right around there. So yeah, it sounds to me like when I do that, I can hear noises in this end. And what that means is that the throttle cable is loose enough that it can grab this trigger as well as the carburetor. Okay, so this trigger is connected to the carburetor. This here, I'm assuming, is the air filter. You take it off by a torque screw bit. 2 of them. And there's not much else here with this that I can notice. There's the adjusting screws. Okay, so what it is that I do with these, I do complete engine teardown and rebuilds. And the reason why is because that ensures that nothing goes unnoticed, undiagnosed. Everything gets tested, washed, flushed, rinsed, washed, derusted, cleaned out, inspected, and whatever. You see how there's dirt and stuff that's in there? Okay, so that'll be all cleaned up. So, having said that, let's get started. So what it is that I'm going to do first is I'm going to take off the tubing. I'm going to remove this off so it's just loose, and then I'm going to take this elbow part off. Okay? In order to get the tube off, you need to undo this screw right here. Now this thing is under spring compression, so the moment you take this off, it's going to snap right off and fly off. So you got to pay attention to that. It will use a T27 bit. Once you get this loose, take it right off, and then you can just literally go and maneuver this off of this end here, and it will kind of somewhat slide off. Then what you do is once you get that off, then you can take off this throttle mechanism. So you undo this one here, another T27, and then it like spreads apart, it opens up, and then you can just slide it from here all the way down to the end and take it off. Now, once you get these screws out, you're going to need to put them back in, just like I did there, and just like I did there, okay? The next thing that we will be doing is taking off the rewind. The rewind here looks like it's separate from this here, but now that I think of it, we're going to do a compression check and a spark plug check to make sure that we got compression and we got spark. First, before I do that, what I want to do is I want to pull this out, see if it's going to pull. So, it does pull a bit. So I am able to pull this out like about this much. And what that means is if I can make a complete rotation with the cylinder, at the crank, that means the piston will have went up and down once. And what that also means is that the flywheel is free. That also means that the piston is also free of the cylinder. So there's nothing between the rewind and the cylinder piston which is causing it to bind, rust, or seize. Okay, so now we're going to do the compression checker. You will need two of these tools here, which will be a compression checker and a spark plug tester. So what we're going to do is we're going to check for spark first, and the way that you do that, the way that you use this, is you put this part on top of your spark plug, just like that, into there. It should click nicely. Then the boot part of the engine goes onto this part here. Now you pull the rewind, and the flywheel, when it goes around, should make a spark going up the spark plug, and you should be able to see it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my camera up, and we're going to get organized. Okay, so when I pull this, you should see a faint orange glow in that little bulb. Oh, man, this is hard. Okay, so I can after that we can tell that it started just a little bit. So when it makes that noise, we see that we had spark, and because it ran for just a little bit, we can also see that it had compression for it to run. We're still going to take the compression check anyways to see how much we have, because if it's under 100, it's not very good, but it's over 100, it's awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to pull the compression, pull the rewind, see the compression. I'm going to pull 10 pulls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we have about just 90, 100, 110, 150, I'd say 118 PSI, which is really good for these engines. And even if I pulled it twice, we got that reading. So we have a good engine here, it's got compression on it. Okay, so we have spark. We know it started a little bit, and now we know we have great compression, which is just under 120. Still, I'm going to do a complete engine teardown and rebuild, because that's what I told the customer that I would do. Not only that, but the intention of my videos are to educate everybody and show everybody the procedure for taking everything down, just so you guys can have an idea too of what it looks like when you take it down, how to take it down, what to look for, and what to test for. Okay, so we're still going to take it apart, and you're still going to see what exactly everything looks like when it comes apart. And that's the intention of what it is that I do. So, starting with the air filter, we got the air filter off. These bolts there are T27-2, and the type of air filter it is that we have is these ones. These ones, got no numbers on them, but this is what the air filter part looks like. The air filter will always be connected to the carburetor. So on the other side of this is the carburetor. So what we're going to do now is take off the rewind. The rewind looks like this. And these three screws, these three bolts in fact, came off of here. Now, any time that I have seen something fine thread going into something like this, that means it was attached to the engine. So fine thread are bolts which attach to the engine, so please make note of that and don't get them screwed up. Take a picture or whatever to not get them confused, but normally what I do is I put them back, but in this case I can't because I'm taking this off, so I'm just going to take these, put it in there with all the other ones. And yes, I did take a picture. So next we're going to work on these here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can't see anything in there, so just that 4, and this orange cover can come off. So the orange cover came off and it's only those 4. Now remember what I was just talking about? This is a screw because it's coarse thread, and the coarse thread is what was attached to this plastic part. Screws are normally attached to plastic parts. Bolts are normally keeping two plastic parts together and attached to the metal casing, and sometimes in most cases there is a nut involved if depending on the manufacturer and how they design it. But in this particular case there was screws holding 2 plastic pieces together. Okay, so do not lose these. You can put these back like it is that I am doing now, or you can put them into a bucket and take a picture, but whatever you do, try not to lose where exactly they are going. So we've gotten to this part here. The air filter is here. It's connected to one side of the carburetor, which is always a must, and then this is the breather tube which goes to the cylinder. This is the cylinder head, and it looks like it can be disconnected by that bolt right there to the crankcase. Now, depending on the condition of the piston and the cylinder, we will make that determination once we get the muffler off and the carburetor off. Technically, in most cases, you can look through the carburetor hole to look at the bottom of the piston, and then you can look through the muffler hole to look on the top of the piston. Okay, so looking through these two will give you an idea of the condition of the piston when you look through it. And when you look through this part, if you can actually see it in the daylight or whatever, you can see the top of the piston, how it looks, if there's corrosion or burnt crap or garbage or debris or something that is in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try to remove the engine from the housing, and the way that we do that is we flip it around and we start taking off these here. Okay, so there's a nut, and that's a bolt, and there's the same thing on that side right there. So we got 2 nuts, which is quite common, as I just said. That is the exception I was talking about. So once we get that off, then okay, I think what we can also work on is getting the fuel off. So anytime that you're messing around with the fuel, there is pressure in this gas tank. So if you take this off, do it slowly because it will just spurt out. And if you don't do that, then there's pressure in these lines here. So when you take off the carburetor, you'll have gas flowing through them just like sporadically. So be mindful of that. Take out the pressure from here by taking off the screw cap and having something to cover that so you don't get gas splatter, if there's gas in here, in fact. Now to take off the fuel tank, it's secured on the bottom. So you got a screw there and a screw there. Looks like there's 4 of them, 4 T27 screws that are holding that in. Oh, and look at that, there's a tool. There's a Stihl tool on the bottom of this, which has got the thingamabob you're supposed to use. Okay, so if I was to take this off and disconnect those lines, take a picture as to which line goes where, and then pinch them off. Hold on. Whenever I pinch fuel lines off that are that small, I use these. These work perfectly for any fuel line, and just pinch it and then do your thing. And then when you're finished, just take it off. Just, it's as simple as that. These are like dollar store items. So yeah, I'm gonna take off this line and this line here. So this is how it all came apart, like this. Okay. And now you can see that the carburetor is stuck to the plate. These 2 long ones going to those two holes right there. That's what hold the carburetor on. This small one right here was attached right to here. So I'm going to put that one back. You'll have 3 bolts that are holding this plate to the carburetor. The carburetor is naturally stuck onto this place to create an airtight seal. As I can tell, as I can see, there's one line coming from the fuel line going into the carburetor from that part there. This is the breather tube for the fuel tank itself. Okay, and as I just noticed, there is no primer bulb anywhere. So this is one of those older models that didn't have a primer bulb on it. It's like a chainsaw. So what we're going to do is just remove these carefully and pinch them and then take this off. Alright, so I successfully got the fuel tank off full of fuel without spilling a drop by doing the pinching it off just like that. Okay, so these 4 screws, do not lose them because they are a different size of coarse thread than the regular ones. So let's take one of these off so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. These ones here are also a type of coarse thread, and they are just a little bit bigger. Some vary. Maybe these are the same size, maybe not, but if you look at them, yeah, they are different. See, one's longer. Okay, so these 4 are the one that were connected to the fuel tank. This one's longer. That was connected to this part here. Do not get these confused because you'll wonder why these don't work at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these screws back to the bottom of this so that way I don't lose them. Otherwise, you can just take a picture and put them in there. What I want to do now is I want to remove the throttle control, which goes along this cable here. And there's 2 wires. One goes to, one is actually the throttle cable, and the other is the wiring attached to the magneto. So we're going to undo these 2 screws. Pay attention to which wire goes where when you take this apart and how the screws look. Okay, so I got to do 1, 2, and then I got to take this one off, which keeps the tension on this cable here to secure it. Once those are off, then this can come off, and there's a bolt right there too, so remember to account for that. So this is what it will look like when you take off the wiring. So this one here was connected to this part of the magneto, and those are the 2 screws that was connected in the magneto to the engine. But there's one wire here which is a blade type. Pay attention to this. It goes to one side only. It looks to me like they are different size blades. One's a smaller, one's a bigger, so you should not be able to get those confused. But now we can just remove everything just like this and put it away like that, and we can, yeah, whatever. Anyhow, now this is what it looks like. Okay, everything's dirty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a bath in laundry soap and water, and what we have next is the muffler. When it comes to taking off the muffler, especially this one in particular, it's these 2 holes here that have the bolts in them. There's also one in the bottom, which is right there, and that one is this. This one looks just a little bit cleaner, but these 2 in particular are stuck. I literally had to torque this off with a ratchet, with an actual wrench, but just come off just like that. There we go. See? Now let's look at these. These 2 were in the hole here, in those 2 holes, and this one was on the bottom. Now they are all the same size. You see that? But these 2 are going to always be completely corroded and rusted and burnt all to hell because this gets hot, so therefore these get hot too. So these 2 were massively fucking stuck on the action and cylinder head, and they're probably fried right in there. There's a gasket right here, which you need that as a heat resistant gasket to create that airtight seal. Okay, so you could put these back into there, just screw them right back into there, put them in, so you don't lose them, or you could take a picture of them and then put them in a whatever. But these are major problems, so there's no way in the world that you can get these confused with any other bolts because of the fact that they are burnt to hell. Oh, and let's look at the other side of this. It doesn't look too bad. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray some Easy Off oven cleaner on this to clean it up, and some CLR to get rid of the rust on it. But now we're ready to take this part off. Before we do that, I just remembered I want to take this part off, and it looks to me this could be wedged against this, holding it in. So this too has to. I want to show everybody something very interesting. Anytime that you are taking something apart that has not been taken apart before, it should make this sound, a snap, like that. If you heard that snap, that means nobody else has taken this apart before, and you just broke the original seal on the engine that the manufacturer used to ensure that its parts stick together. That is a good way of knowing if it has been taken apart before. So once that comes off, it looks like just slides right off. Yep. And then those two right there. So this part here can go back onto the cylinder head. It's a bolt because it's fine threads and it's held into the engine. These two were holding in the black part to this part of the cylinder. So these can not get, you should not get confused with anything else. You can put these back like I am doing right here, so that way you don't lose them. Okay, now what I was talking about before is I'm going to look in there through the cylinder head, and I'm going to look into this hole and to the top. We should be able to see, oh, look at that. This is the carburetor side, and we can see the piston rings right there. See that? And we can see the underside of the piston. So if we look at the walls of the piston, we can see that there's 0 scratches, 0 lines, 0 anything, deformations. I would expect this from an engine that had 118 psi, as we had just seen. Now, only through the carburetor side can you see the bottom of the piston. I'm going to turn this around, and we're going to try to look at it through the muffler. On the muffler side, we can see the top of the piston, which is right there. The top of the piston, the rings, and the walls, the cylinder walls. We can never see the bottom of the piston because we're looking through the muffler. Okay? So I don't know if you guys can see, but I can. But if I have to shine a light in there, the top of the piston looks pretty good. There's hardly anything on the top there. I can stick my finger in there. Well, not really. And we can clean that out just a bit. But just so everybody knows, the carburetor hole is a bit different height than the muffler hole. Okay? So, having kept that in mind, this is how you diagnose a piston without removing the piston. In order to remove this part from this part here, you're going to access a screw hole from right there. You're going to access a screw hole from right here, that one, and the same thing on the bottom, right there. Once you take out those 3, then that can come out. Okay, so that's the screw that you took out. That one there, and that one there. That was from the hole that you accessed through here, to here, and through here, okay? You accessed them through the back side. Now this can go right there on the ground, and now we have complete access to those 3 bolts which hold in the engine. And if we look at the back, we can see that there's one hole there, there's another one back here, and there's one on the bottom right there. So, if we get those three, we can take out the engine. But we gotta take these off first. So, all these ones here gotta come out. And then this can separate. Okay, so this came off, and this is what it looks like on the other side. It's somewhat dirty, so we will clean that up to another laundry bath. Now we have access to those three. I just want to show everybody something. You see this here, this part, I do not know what the purpose of this is, but I was holding this together and it's really hard. It's got a little bit of a lip right there on both sides. And it's hard just to take off. I had to really yank it and twist it off. But anyhow, it's a cap for something else. Now we can take those out. And once we do, then the engine can disconnect. But let's look at it. These are the screws that were holding it in together. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them. 8 of them, and they're the same size. And they go in and hold these together, both halves. Okay, so I expect this. Ooh, look at that. What is that? Oh, there is. I see. I gotta attack that. It looks like a 1/2 inch socket. Okay. Okay, as it turns out, I can take this fin wheel off, and it comes off with bolts, which are right there. They go into those 3 holes there. Once you take that out, they will be attached to this. So this makes it a whole lot easier for me to attack that nut, because now I can grab something, stick it in there, and crank that out. And before I do, there's usually some markings which tell you which way is off. And just before I do something like that, I just noticed there is bolts here, which I'm going to assume takes off the engine. So we're going to put this to a side right there, and we're going to look at this just a little bit more carefully now. So 3, 6, those 6, yes, okay, those 6 bolts take off the engine. Okay, I'm going to get rid of those. You don't need to attack this just yet. Okay, so those 6 bolts are right here, and as you can tell, they are all pretty much the same size. Okay? So, it looks like we can just lift this right off. Voila! And in usual fashion, this is all dirty. Not a big deal. We'll give this a bath. And we'll put this right here. Okay, now we have full access to our engine. Okay, so now we can take that nut off, and we can take that nut off, and what that will do is it will expose us to not really. No, not really. You see, this part of the engine is divided into 3 parts. We got 2 parts here for the crank and the cylinder head. The cylinder head needs to come off first before you can remove these 2. How you do that is by attacking these 4 nuts. Those 4 nuts are accessible by these 4 holes here. Let me look and see if this is the right size. Ooh, yeah, it looks like it's the right size, but so this is the part where I go as far as I can go before I make that determination if I need to attack the cylinder and the piston. And in this case, the answer is no. The reason why is because I already looked through the cylinder on this side and on this side and up here. And when we did our test, we went and used a compression checker and a spark plug checker, and we found that we had a good engine. So after I had done all of this work, I am quite confident that with everything that I had taken apart, all these parts here, that if we were to put it back together, this will work. One of the things that, you know what, that we have to do, we will do, is look at the carburetor, wherever I put it, right here. This is the part where we are going to tear this apart and look at it and adjust it. Okay, and I should have the parts for this. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but we're going to test it. And we're going to look at adjusting it. So we will do that later. But for now, I'm going to start cleaning everything up, and with pails of water and soap, and just get to everything. Okay, so we got the carburetor off of the plate. Now, on this particular carburetor, if you want to find the numbers on it, it's on this side. If you look really close, it says 2, 3, 4, 536. No, looking closer is 23A 536. Walbro carburetor, and there's even the part number right there. Okay, that's normally the numbers are right here, but they're not. So therefore, the numbers are right there to find. You can find the carburetor parts for these depending on the parts themselves. So now I'm going to have a look at that. So yeah, this here, we're looking at it. Okay, looks nice. With that right there's all the other clean parts. Now we're going to look at this a little bit more carefully. Okay, so after going and looking for the numbers of this, I find out that I just happen to have the carb kit for it, which is right there. Ordered it from Amazon. And because of my organizational skills, I just have to look at the picture and then go through them to find out if they were there. And I do. I have it. So therefore, this can now go back. I can use this, take this apart, switch them, and we're good. So I'm going to take this apart now. Okay, so we got the bottom and the top part of the carburetor taken apart, and the pieces are right here. So they're laid out carefully just so you can have an idea of what they look like. So this piece, which is used, looks like that. Okay? And the next piece that goes over that is this one here. You can't really see it, but you sort of now, but yeah. And then this one here looks like this. Okay? Now, these two came off of here, and this surface has got to be cleaned up before you go to put it back together. And you can tell that somebody had it glued together, which is not a big deal because that's how you're supposed to put them, so there's an airtight seal for the carburetor to work. Now, I went and took out my package here, and I got all the parts laid out. So this one here matches with that one. Okay? And so on and so forth. They match. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these, put these in the garbage, toss them aside, and these little bits too, because I got those right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this out, take an air gun, and start blowing out all the holes with WD-40. And I think this part here is a bit loose. Just fuel coming out of it when I went and was taking it apart. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll make sure that all the holes are nice and clean. I use a WD-40 can with a red straw to flush out the holes most of the time. And I got my own air compressor right here that I can use to dry it out. So that's what I will work on. We will get those new parts put back into here. Now, I just noticed that there's only one nib where the fuel comes in. Normally, when there's a primer bubble involved, I can test these to see if it's drinking correctly, but in this particular case, no, I cannot. I'm just going to have to do in faith that when I pull the starter cord, that it's going to start. And then for me to adjust the jets, those ones, I can't get those red things out. But I can get a screwdriver in there to attack the jets. It's important. Those jets are important to be cleaned out too. If I can't get them, I can't get them, else I'll have to leave it. But they have to do with these two holes here. Okay, so yeah, everything will be flushed out and cleaned out and put back together. And this surface will be cleaned up. And I'm going to use rubber cement to put those back together to create a nice airtight seal. Okay, so everything is pretty much cleaned and wiped to be nice and sparkly. So I'm kind of running out of daylight here. It's gonna get dark on me soon. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start putting everything back together the way that I put it back together the way that I took it apart, and everything should go smoothly. So then after this comes the part where we test it to see if it works. Okay, everything is put back together and we are so close to listening to this thing run that we're going to do one more thing. And that is take this apart. The reason why, even though the cable here works nicely, now I could grease it just a little bit more. It's this part here that I'm concerned about. It's a little bit hard to push up and down on this thing here. So this part here, this tab, could be stuck or seized or what a little bit, and this on-off switch could be just a little bit more, loose or whatever. So what we're going to use is, it looks like a smaller T-bit. I would say T20. So let me find what it is and start taking this apart. These are the screws that came off, and these are in fact T20 bits, as I had guessed correctly. This big one here goes right there, if you remember correctly me saying that. So now we're just going to pop this off, see how it looks. Ooh, that came off better than I expected. Okay, let's look at this part now. Okay, so if you're wondering how this works and how to put it back together, take a picture of it. Like in this profile that you see right here, go snap, and then take that picture. And then you see that this is the trigger. There is play in that trigger, if you can see right there. There's play. So we push it up. Okay, so this spring, this can come out completely, right? This, just like that. The spring comes out. Ooh, be careful of the spring, don't lose it. Trigger comes out now, straight out. Of course, I can't do everything with one hand. You know what? Let me get my tripod. Okay. Straight out. Can it? No. But the on-off switch can come out. So this is how the on-off switch looks if you look at it carefully. See those two connecting points right there? Right? Yeah, it is a bit stuck for some reason. Okay. So we can take the on-off switch right out, just like that. Okay. And the trigger off, just like that. Okay. And now we can remove the throttle cable, just like that. Be careful of the wiring, pay attention to the wiring. Okay. That orange bit. Right. And here we go. Now we got that removed. Now this part here, as you can tell, it is a bit stuck. Look at that. I have a hard time. It really is seized somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that washer. You see that washer right there? that pops out, those washers pop out, and then this can pretty much come out, and then we can look at that. So let me put this on pause and get some pliers for that. Okay, so the washer came off. It was a little bit, it was technically a lot difficult. It took me a good 5 minutes to just had to bang it out with the small screwdriver. Anyways, that's what the washer looks like. Now we can take this out, and it just falls out like that. Okay, this part here is loose, as you can tell. This comes out. Okay, so what's holding everything together is tons of little washers like this. Okay, so there's 3 washers, and then there's 2 spring washers in between them. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just clean everything up, grease the hell out of it, wipe everything down with a rag, and then put it back together, and make sure everything is nice and slidey. Nothing's deceased. So I got that washer in there, and you're not going to believe how I did it. Like, you are literally not going to believe how I did that. So I went and cut a small pipe like this, and this is what it looks like. Okay, this is a 1/2 inch diameter pipe. I went and cut that so it could go over that hole, just like that. And when I pushed down, then there would be enough room to squeeze that washer right through to get it sitting in there nicely, right? Now, if you're wondering, how did I clamp that down? I used an actual clamp. I used an actual clamp just to clamp like this part here on that to compress it. And because I'm missing a freaking thing there, I had to go and use one of my go through my screwdriver kits here. Where the heck is it? This one. So anyhow, I can go back. That is right there, and this is now on there. So when I test this out, it's not as stuck as it was, but I can tell that this was it just needed to be lubricated. Okay, good. Now I can put everything back together. Okay, so we got this operational now. So this slides nicely, the on-off switch, with hardly any effort at all. And this part here, the variable throttle control, now goes up and down with ease. That's all that it needed, was just to be lubricated. Okay, what did I use? I used WD-40 to clean everything. And so now we can put everything back together, put the tubing back on, and we can start this now. So here we go. Okay, so here we go with the starting. I might need to tweak the jets, but who knows? On. Choke off. Woohoo! That was a success. For all of you wondering what the blue smoke was, that was as a result of the cleaning products that I used to clean the engine. And the fuel itself has not been changed. I used the same fuel that the customer had given to me, and 0 adjustments on the carburetor. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this to a location and we're going to test it out. And I am happy that this started, which, as you can see, everything that I had done to the engine, it worked perfectly. So now we're going to do a full-on test. Alright, so this thing runs. So what it was it needed a new carburetor, and I ordered one off of Amazon, and I got a new spark plug too. After that, then this thing ran normal. I was able to put it into run position, and this thing fires right up like it normally does. I barely had to touch the jets on here. But now I'm about to hand it to the customer, put the correct fuel mixture into there, and everything works perfectly like it's supposed to. So that's all that I needed was a new carburetor. And that's it. This is a success.